Hello, hello everyone. Yokoso. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. For me, here it's 10 a.m. right now. Not too early, not too late either. We're gonna get started soon. For those who don't know, usually from the time of live notification to actual stream start, it's about 10 minutes, and that is why I'm running this intro screen for a while. But we're gonna switch once we actually begin. And I just realized I was muted. Oh my. Well, we're just gonna ignore the past couple of minutes then. Hello, hello. Welcome. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ginkgo, the Silver Fox. I'm a yokai kitsune shapeshifter. I'm currently in my human form, but as you can see, there are plenty of fox-themed imagery on my clothing. I do have a true form, of course. Silver fox having a double meaning. It's the color of my fur, but also a word for a more elderly, handsome gentleman. This stream is made to help you relax. Maybe it's early in the morning for you. For those of you in the West, in the Americas, it's the middle of the night. Maybe you are struggling to sleep and looking for a way to relax. Hopefully, I can help with that. For those who are new here, I just had my debut 2 days ago, Saturday. For returning viewers, welcome back. I appreciate you. Feel free to lurk, feel free to put my stream in the background while you relax, study. Perhaps you're at work. Maybe you're sipping on some tea like I am right now, or your morning coffee. Soon we will be going to my, well, let's just say it's a special place. Some place more quiet, more intimate, and I'll be sharing some of my knowledge with you. I think it's fun to relax and learn at the same time. Perhaps all of you have, or some of you have heard of how people try to study in their sleep by putting down some kind of audio lesson, or some who are like superstitious, maybe they put some notebook or textbook under their pillow and try to absorb the knowledge somehow. I'm not sure if that really works, but you know, to each their own. All right. Well, right now, yes, we are at the bar. This will be like my default room, but we're gonna be moving soon enough. Don't you worry. We're gonna have a literal change of scenery. Let's see here. All right. Oh, by the way, for Eastern religions, Orthodoxy, it's Easter Monday, so those of you who celebrate it, Happy Easter. And Paște fericit. All right. Let's put on a different music. Let's go. Over here, shall we? There. Isn't this nice? Yes, it is technically a library. It's a bit overgrown, but don't mind that. I came across this building abandoned, but fortunately I found a lot of useful books, notes. Some of them are pieces of ancient and secret knowledge. And I'm gonna be reading to you from these notes right now. By the way, if I'm ever too soft or too loud, please feel free to let me know in chat. I do all kinds of audio testing before the stream, but I don't think anyone can or anything can really prepare you for the real thing. There can always be some unexpected tech issues. But not to worry, we shall overcome them together. Okay. Now, let's see here. Which piece of knowledge should I share with you first? Why don't we start with this one? Some of you may not be familiar with the term ASMR. Most likely those who tune in, they know about it already and intentionally looked up an ASMR stream or video. But those who do not, ASMR comes from Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. It is described as a tingling sensation that usually begins on the scalp and moves down the back of the neck and upper spine. It is a very pleasant sensation. I sometimes have it myself as I like to listen to it. Nowadays not so much, but I still like to listen to it, to relax, to help fall asleep. It's usually achieved through whispering, soft speaking, such as what I'm doing right now, certain object or body noises. There are even some special ASMR microphones developed for this exact purpose, which is something I don't have right now, but maybe in the future. Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully this will be enough for now. Let's see. What are the usual ASMR triggers? Listening to a softly spoken or whispering voice, listening to quiet, repetitive sound resulting from someone engaging in a mundane task, such as turning the pages of a book, watching somebody attentively execute a mundane task, such as preparing food, receiving personal attention, grooming, makeup application, hair brushing. I think these are best with a special mic. Can't really do it with a regular one, I'm afraid. Imitating the stimulus through conscious manipulation without the need of external video or audio triggers. Oh, sounds so technical. Listening to tapping, typically nails onto surfaces such as plastic, wood, paper, metal, hand movements, especially onto one's face. Well, I won't really be doing that as a VTuber, but I can confirm those are some pretty common ASMR themes. Listening to certain types of music, I try to put on some relaxing music such as this. It's from a meditation playlist. Listening to a person blow or exhale into a microphone. I don't think my microphone picks that up. Just try to blow into it and probably nothing came out. I think for this you need the special microphone. Listening to crinkly items such as paper, clothes, or substances such as styrofoam, mouth sounds. Yeah, not gonna be doing that right now. Listening to button sounds, mostly those from computer keyboards or video game controllers. Tapping the mouse quickly like this. Or listening to the sound of footsteps. Footsteps, huh? Not sure if I could do that either, but we're just gonna stick to soft speaking for now and listing all kinds of fun facts. Because who said you can't relax and learn at the same time, right? Some would argue that it's the best way to learn by having something relaxing play in the background. All right, let's see. What should I tell you guys about first? How about we talk about VTubers for a bit? Trying to be a bit thematic here since I am a VTuber myself. VTuber or virtual YouTuber is an online entertainer who uses a virtual avatar generated using computer graphics. Indeed, nowadays the term, especially if you're streaming on Twitch, VTuber, isn't very accurate, but it simply has caught on. I've heard the term V-streamer sometimes, but I don't know if anyone actually really uses it. VTubers can basically come in three different forms. PNG tubers, such as one I am right now. I'm using a still image and a reactive software that lights up my image or changes my image whenever I talk into the microphone. There's of course Live 2D, which is basically a drawing made by an artist, similar to a PNG, but it's being rigged specifically so that if you use a webcam tracking software, as you move around, the avatar moves as well. It mimics your real face and movements. And of course, you can have all kinds of toggles on these Live 2D models to do certain animations. I plan to have this myself one day, as Live 2D can be a lot more expressive than what you see right now, but we all got to start somewhere, don't we? And last but not least, there's also 3D avatars. Those use a more advanced tracking. They try to track sometimes the full body, which means that the streamer usually has to have special tracking hardware on their body and use, again, certain software to animate their movements. 3D can, of course, be the most expressive. Sorry, I coughed a bit. Can be the most expressive form of avatar. I personally find it a bit cumbersome because I think the technology is just not there yet. There are often tracking issues, strange forms your avatar sometimes takes, or if you have like really good tracking, it's super expensive to get. Maybe I'll get 3D myself one day, but even appearance-wise, I think I prefer Live 2D for now. But we'll see. Never say never. Now that we have the more technical details out of the way, perhaps I should talk about a bit of VTuber history. Of course, the idea of avatars is not something singular to streamers. Like, we use avatars in video games, forums, all kinds of different places where we don't want to show our actual face or appearance. When it comes to the world of streaming, VTubers really started breaking out late 2016. It said that Kizuna Ai was the first VTuber to achieve popularity. She made her debut on YouTube. And it is said that she was the first to coin the term of virtual YouTuber, which was then shortened. It is said that Kizuna Ai created a sense of real intimacy with fans. She was responsive to their questions. Within 10 months, she had over 2 million subscribers and later became culture ambassador of the Japan National Tourism Organization. Fun fact, because I speak a little Japanese, Kizuna means bond and Ai means love. So I guess the whole intimacy with fans was very much in line with her name. Her success was attributed to oversaturation of traditional webcam YouTubers and for aspects of characters that the audience would not expect. For example, despite having a friendly appearance, Kizuna Ai often swears in her videos when she gets frustrated while playing a game. 2016, huh? Well, if you think about it, it's been like 7 years since then, and it was a new thing back then, and this article describes how there was an oversaturation of traditional webcam streamers. Maybe these days there's an oversaturation of virtual streamers. If I'm not mistaken, there are like over 10,000 VTubers in the world right now. Some of them maybe in some kind of agency. Those of you who are in the so-called VTuber rabbit hole, you probably heard about these big names like Hololive, or in its full name, Hololive Production from Cover Corporation, which has like over 60 VTubers around the world across their different branches. The Japanese branch of Hololive, Hololive Indonesia, Hololive EN, Holostars, which is the male branch in Japan, and Holostars EN, the English-speaking male talents. And there's of course Nijisanji under AnyColor Inc., which apparently manages 160 VTubers from around the world in their two branches, Nijisanji and Nijisanji EN. 160, dang, I didn't realize they had that many. They have a lot more than Hololive. Interesting. One could argue that Hololive is the most popular among them, but yeah, it seems, I think Nijisanji actually came first. Yeah, indeed. Seems to have started in 2018. And of course, there's VShoujo, which is a little more recent. It started in 2020, November. And it was the first VTuber agency to be based in the Western world. Its CEO, Gonran, I believe, he actually got inspired while he was in Japan. I remember one of the interviews. I think it's like, it is to be expected that during 2020, 2021, when the world really slowed down and a lot of people were stuck inside homes, I think it was to be expected for streamers in general and VTubers to become more popular, because, well, people were looking for something to do or a welcome little distraction from all the craziness in the world. One more fun little fact about VTubers. It seems that during a Sabaton event in 2022, Iron Mouse accumulated the largest number of active paid subscriptions of all streamers on the platform at that point in time. Yeah, I remember, I think she received a lot of awards. I do watch Iron Mouse from time to time, although don't catch her live very often. It's one of the perils of being in EU. A lot of times these streamers who are based in the Americas, US more specifically, they stream while we sleep at night. But she has a pretty inspirational story, because she has a lot of health issues, but she didn't give up and she made a name of herself. Had to get a sip of water because your Your mouth does get dry when you speak a lot, doesn't it? Alright. I think that is it right now for VTubers. Now let's move on to foxes, because, well, I am a kitsune, which is the Japanese word for fox. You may not look like it right now, but like many other kitsune or yoko or spirit foxes, I can disguise myself into human form. Some kitsune can even possess other people in order to hide in plain sight, which is pretty overpowered if you think about it. Not only can they change shape, they can also possess other people, so good luck finding one. But right now I want to speak about foxes in general, like the real life species. They are like my favorite animal, which is why I chose this particular lore for myself. Foxes, true foxes, or vulpes, as it's called in a more technical Latin term, has two separate species and 4 fossil species as described. We have the Bengal fox, which is native to the Indian subcontinent, which is, it looks like, sorry, I'm not going to be showing any images today, but I want to focus on audio only today. Looks, doesn't look all that different from the more common red fox, but the image I see right now, its eyes are closed, so it seems to have a more orange yellowish fur. We have Blandford's fox, which is native to the Middle East, such as Iran, Israel, Afghanistan, Egypt, Pakistan, and it prefers semi-arid environments. Seems to have a much smaller head and a long, bushy tail and brown fur. Cape fox. This is a species found in southern Africa, such as Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa. South Africa is actually one of the places I would like to visit at some point. I've traveled to many places, but I've never been to Africa or the Southern Hemisphere for that matter. We have the Corsac fox, which is a species found in Central Asia. They too prefer deserts. Seems to be somewhat smaller than your typical red fox and has some gray, brownish fur. Like it. We have the Tibetan sand fox. As the name suggests, it is endemic to the Tibetan and Ladakh plateau in Nepal, China, India, and Bhutan. It can live on altitudes up to 5,300 meters. Very curious. Seems to have adapted to low pressure and low temperatures. The only image I see of it here is a drawing, so maybe they are, doesn't say that it's extinct, but maybe it's just very difficult to spot in the wild and take a photo of. Arctic fox, as you might imagine, inhabits the Arctic Circle, so very far up north in Russia, Iceland, Greenland, northern Canada, Alaska. It has somewhat smaller, more stubby ears and white fur. We have the kit fox. They are also arid desert dwelling species. They are found in America, North America to be exact. Most common in Oregon, Colorado, Nevada, Utah, California, New Mexico, and Texas in the United States, as well as parts of Mexico. So they almost go all the way to Central America. Seems to be a lot more, its face is a lot more slim, head smaller than the most common fox. I'm noticing a trend that a lot of foxes seem to like the dry desert areas, but some of them apparently have also adapted to the extreme cold and even to great heights, such as mountains. We have the pale fox. It lives in the Sahel region in Africa. It's again a very arid desert fox, which is to be expected because the Sahel region is again a very arid area in northern Africa. Speaking of North Africa, we have another fox species living there. It's called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Ruppel's fox, or Ruppel. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. It lives in North Africa, but also parts of Middle East. We have the so-called swift fox. It is found in the western grassland of North America, specifically Montana, Wyoming, New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, as well as the Canadian prairies. Interesting how some species are found only in certain parts of the world. But then we get to the most common one and probably the one that you are most familiar with. Let's see. It is indeed the red fox. It is the most abundant and most widely distributed species of fox, occurring throughout the Northern Hemisphere, North America, Asia, and Europe. They are also present in Australia, though they were brought there by humans for fox hunting, so they are considered an invasive species. Ooh, it's never a good idea to bring in animals that are not native to an area, because even though sometimes people bring them in for entertainment or when trying to deal with pests, they often end up becoming pests themselves. They become more of a problem than solution. But yeah, red foxes, they are very widespread. Like if I'm looking at the map here, it covers almost every country in the Northern Hemisphere. Guess maybe that's also why there are so many fox-based VTubers, and while there are so many folk tales and stories about foxes, and why a lot of people like foxes in general, I think they are very cute. I think one of the most accurate descriptions I heard about foxes is that they are like dog hardware running on cat software. So they are like a canine species, but they act more like cats. They can be rather troublesome, and stories tell about how they are often sly, clever, they enjoy tricking people. That includes the spirit foxes in Japanese folklore. But don't worry, I'm not trying to trick anyone here. I'm just here to entertain and help you relax. And perhaps also broaden your horizons at the same time. And well, there's actually one more species. Last but not least, we have the fennec fox, which lives in North Africa and the Sinai Peninsula. I've seen fennec foxes. I think those are like the second most well known after the red fox and maybe the Arctic fox. They are, while they are native to North Africa, I believe I've seen plenty in American and European zoos as well. Although I can't imagine they like areas very much that are not like the deserts and not as dry as their natural environment. Ooh, here's an interesting fun fact. Domestication. Oh, I didn't know that. Apparently the term silver fox doesn't just refer to a handsome, more elderly gentleman with a silver hair, but also it's a melanistic form for a wild red fox. Though rare, domestication has been documented in silver foxes. The most notable experiment was conducted in Russia at the Siberian Institute of Cytology and Genetics. In this study, generations of silver foxes were divided into those with friendly traits and those with unfriendly traits. After 50 years, the friendly foxes developed dog-like domesticated traits such as spots, tail wagging, enjoyment of human touch, and barking. Okay, interesting. Like, I feel like a lot of the domesticated animals started out as wild animals, but it can take like generations of training and selective breeding to get to a species that actually tolerates, let's not say likes, but maybe tolerates human beings. Of course, there are a lot of animals who make good pets and faithful companions, but I think we have a long way to go before foxes become such animals. Alright, I think I'm going to take a short break as I need to rest my voice for a little bit, need to hydrate, maybe go for a little bathroom break. I'll be right back. Feel free to listen to some more chill Japanese music. Alright, I am back. And I actually didn't forget to unmute. Slowly but surely I am learning. We have been live for about an hour right now. I think I'm gonna go for just a little bit longer. I've noticed that most of these ASMR videos or streams aren't longer than 1 or 2 hours, as I suppose I'm experiencing it right now myself. It can be a bit strenuous to continue to speak, especially when you need to be careful and speak in a lower or whispering voice. Although I have seen some streamers who are like specializing in this kind of content, and they stream for like upwards of 6 to 8 hours, like a full sleep cycle, which is pretty crazy to me. But people like ASMR, people like to relax and feel good, so I can see why some people would be tuning in for that long. Maybe one day I will do these super long ASMR streams myself, but it would probably be during a weekend and not a work day like this one. Although I guess for some people it is a holiday right now, if you're celebrating Easter. But that's enough tangent for now. Let's get back to some more trivia and fun facts. For those of you who have missed it during the debut, I speak 5 languages in total. My first language is Hungarian, but I also speak English, of course, Romanian, German, and I'm still learning Japanese. So in light of this, I thought I would gather some fun facts from each country of the languages that I spoke. We're gonna start with Japan and work our way west. So, ja, hajimemashou. 10 fun facts about Japan. There's a lot we love about Japanese culture, including myself. And whether you're visiting for the first time or you're already familiar with life in Japan, there's always plenty to discover about this fascinating country. First fun fact: it's good manners to slurp your noodles. Japan values manners slightly highly, but when it comes to chowing down on bowlfuls of noodles, there's only one way to eat: noisily. Slurping is a sign of enjoyment and also cools down the noodles as you eat. Get your chopsticks in one hand and lean over your bowl. Bibs are sometimes provided for foreigners, but by the time you leave, you should be able to polish off a bowl in a white top and walk out spotless. Second fun fact: the traditional Christmas Eve meal is KFC. Plenty of Japanese celebrate Christmas, something you might not expect, but it's not like in the Western world, of course. It's traditional apparently in Japan to head to your local KFC on Christmas Eve. An estimated 3.6 million Japanese feast on KFC Christmas dinner, and hours of queuing and ordering weeks in advance is expected. Some say turkey and chicken wasn't widely available up for the Christmas curious Japanese, so Colonel Sandoz stepped in to answer the demand. 3.6 million people eating chicken during Christmas Eve. That's a lot of chicken. I feel bad for the workers during Christmas time. But then again, any people in the service industry during the holidays have to work extra hard because most people are off and are looking for ways to entertain themselves and maybe not cook themselves, but order something. Third fun fact, Japan is mostly mountains. Japan's big name stars are in densely populated cities, and it's not a country you think of as a scarcely populated mountain wilderness. However, around 70% of Japan is made up of forests and mountains that aren't suitable for farming or living. There are over 100 active volcanoes, and its tallest mountain is the famed Mount Fuji, or Fujisan as the Japanese like to call it, with its elevation of 3,776 feet. If I'm not mistaken, Fujisan is actually still considered an active volcano, although it hasn't erupted in like 300 years. But people are still monitoring it, and feel bad for the people who have to live near it. All that volcanic ash and noise. I heard stories how one of the bigger eruptions, the volcanic ash, went all the way to Tokyo. I was actually fortunate enough to see, well, from afar, but I still managed to see with my own eyes Mount Fuji while I was in Japan. I think the images you see on the internet really don't do it justice. Fourth fun fact, there's a rabbit island in Japan. Japan is made up of nearly 7,000 islands. There are 4 main ones, of course, but there are a lot more small ones. The little island of Okunoshima in the Inland Sea is best known for its curious, big-eared population. The island was used to test chemical weapons during World War II, and it's said that the test subject roamed free after the war. Either way, the numbers flourished in a predator-free environment. Dogs and cats are banned from entering, and today Okunoshima is a popular spot for cuddle bunny tourists. Oh, letting rabbits roam free without predators. We all know how fast rabbits can reproduce, so I hope there's a way they keep the number of rabbits in check, because I can't imagine like how many rabbits are at this point if they started breeding after World War II. Kind of a scary thought. The number 4 is extremely unlucky, and that's the number 5 fact actually. The number 4, which is pronounced she or yon in some cases, but she is the original reading, is widely avoided in Japan since it sounds too similar to the Japanese word for death, which is again she. So she can mean either the number 4 or death. Keep an eye out in Japan and you'll notice buildings that don't have the 4th floor. Items are sold in sets of 3 or 5, and special care is taken to avoid encountering the number in daily life. This is actually not something specific to Japan. It's also pretty common in Chinese spoken countries. Like when I was in Malaysia, I noticed this phenomenon myself. There was no 4th floor, there was no number 4 on the elevator. It was 3A. And there wasn't 14 either, it was 13A. I'm not gonna judge people. There are superstitions in every culture, I believe, and I can see why people would avoid saying the word for death very often, as it is a very scary prospect, but unfortunately an unavoidable part of life. Sixth fact, there's a bizarre naked festival. In Japan, there is a well-known festival called Hadaka Matsuri, which is the most bizarre probably from all the non-stop festivals. Thousands of Japanese men strip naked in public to secure a fortune-filled year, with the biggest Matsuri taking place in Okayama, where an estimated 9,000 men get down to their fundoshi. I was just about to say they are not completely naked, but they are in a special kind of underwear called fundoshi, which is like it seems very uncomfortable, but it's like a traditional way of, it almost looks like a diaper. And for those of you maybe watching sumo wrestling, the sumo wrestlers themselves wear these fundoshi. Number 7. Japanese trains are the most punctual in the world. The average delay of Japanese trains is 18 seconds. What makes them so punctual? Drivers are trained in ultra-realistic simulators and drive one train line only. Many don't even need a speedometer to know how fast they're going. Competition is also fierce between rail companies, so lagging behind won't do. They work hard to keep hold of Japan's huge numbers of train commuters, whatever it takes, even if it means building fancy department stores in the stations. Yeah, I've been to some train stations myself while I was in Japan, in Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. And yeah, I can confirm that trains are very punctual. Like, unless there's some like big disaster like a typhoon, which I also caught while I was in Japan, then of course trains are delayed because they need to clean up the tracks, or maybe there are other technical difficulties. But while the trains are running, you won't get any significant delays. In fact, I remember reading this story where a Japanese rail company apologized for a train leaving 21 seconds early. I think it was 21, but anyway, yeah, it's pretty crazy that they apologize for something like that, but I think that is just part of Japanese culture, being very polite and apologetic. That wasn't a fact, that was just my comment. The number 8 fact is actually that the Japanese love wacky flavors. Eel flavored ice cream and green tea Kit Kats are just 2 of the weird and wonderful flavors you can come across in Japan. Speaking of tea, I just had to take a sip of it myself. Kit Kats are the most popular confectionery. Kit Kat sounds similar to Kitokatsu, a Japanese saying meaning good luck. Oh, so that's why it's popular. Oh, sorry, I just had to mute the mic so you don't hear me coughing. Okay, better now. So you can try edamame, wasabi, and ginger ale flavored Kit Kats too. Fortunately, you can find these flavors even though they are unique to Japan in other parts of the world. Like, they are special Asian stores even here in Europe, or there are like these box services that deliver Japanese snacks, and I had the fortune of tasting some of these weird flavors myself. I think my favorite so far though was just the strawberry flavored Kit Kat. Strawberry yogurt, I think it was called, which is not very wacky, I suppose, but I did like it very much. Number 9. Everyone has their own seal. In Japan, people don't have signatures. They have their own seal, known as hanko. The seal is typically your name translated into kanji characters, and they are made from silk or plant-based paste. Adults will often have 3 hankos, one for signing of letters and personal matters, a blank seal, and an identify seal. They're not necessary for tourists, but foreigners living in Japan can have one handmade in small local shops. Very interesting. I know that like there's like a bonus trivia right now, but the Japanese have like 3 writing systems. They have the kanji, they have the hiragana and katakana, and the kanji are like the more complicated symbols which were borrowed from the Chinese alphabet, and native Japanese people have their names written in kanji because apparently all names have a meaning behind them. I think that's true to even English speaking and people who use the Latin alphabet to write their names. Like for example, think what would be a good example? Like Constantine means solid. Number 10. Anti-ninja floors are a thing. During the feudal period, wealthy Japanese lords built homes with deliberately squeaky floors, known as nightingale floors, as a defense measure against ninjas. The highly trained legendary mercenaries of feudal Japan were so steeped in myth and folklore, they were said to be capable of walking on water, turning invisible, and controlling natural elements. I believe this is the ninjutsu, which we often see in Japanese manga and anime. And I guess that was the motivation to put down some new flooring, so to make it extra hard for the ninjas to sneak. Doesn't say here how effective that was, but I guess it did have some effect. Alright, that's it for Japanese trivia. Of course, throughout my streams I will be talking about, because I love Japanese culture, I will be talking about facts about Japan in the future, but right now let's move on to another country. 10 interesting facts you don't know about Romania. Apropo, salutare celor care ascultă din România. Sper că vă place stream-ul până acum. Și dacă vă uitați la înregistrare, e perfect ok. Sper că vă ajut să vă relaxați și poate mai și învățați ceva pe lângă. That was a little bit of Romanian for my Romanian-speaking viewers. The second largest underground glacier in Europe can be found inside the Scrișoara Cave. Scrișoara Cave is home to the largest underground glacier in Romania and is currently the second largest in Europe. Geographically, it is located in the Western Carpathians, or Carpats in Romanian, and the first discoveries date from the second half of the 19th century. Descending 48 meters deep on a narrow path, you will find a hall that stretches over 700 meters in the middle, and it looks like an ice block with an age more than 4,000 years old. That's old. Once arrived there, the portal, measuring 24 meters weight and 70 meters height, impresses both in size and in the rich forms of typical karst relief, ice walls, concretions, and stalagmites. I believe I was in a school trip once that visited this glacier, because I distinctly remember being in a cave and seeing a big block of ice, but it was a very long time ago. Second fact, the tallest wooden church in the world is located in Romania. Maramuresh is one of the Romanian regions that best preserve the traditions and the authentic rural atmosphere. For example, Per Monastery retains the characteristic of the Maramuresh churches. Although it was built relatively recently, in 1997, it set a new record of being the tallest church in the world. With a height of 78 meters, it surpassed even the Statue of Liberty in New York. Imagine that only the cross at the top of the church measures 7 meters high. Oh, oh, I didn't know we had a church that tall. It was built only recently. But of course it's the tallest wooden church. I'm sure there are bigger cathedrals out there. Yeah, I guess that's why it specifically said church too, because cathedrals are basically the more complex and more intricate churches. The most extensive surfaces with virgin forests in Europe can be found in the Carpathian Mountains. This is fact number 3. The Romania motto is Explore the Carpathian Garden. And this is for a reason. It is said that the wood civilization appeared in the mountains, and it was the bridge of generations all over the time. Thus, on the territory of the country, there are still virgin forests with trees older than 450 years, reaching heights of over 50 meters. The first forest to be classified as a virgin forest was in 1906 in the region of Bukovina, secular forest of Sletioara, and over the time other forests were classified as well and moreover included in the UNESCO World Heritage. You can venture inside the forest only with a guide, the path not being reached even by the tourist routes. Here you will have a chance to get a real environmental lesson on the spot, being the last ecosystem where nature thrives in its purest form. I can confirm that here in Romania there are a lot of forests, and the sad part is that a lot of it is also harvested and exported. No, there was a lot of scandal, maybe not scandal, but a lot of discontent among the people who see all those trains packed with lumber leave outside the world, outside Romania to other parts of the world. We need to be, well, I'm gonna be an environmentalist for a second here, but we do need to be careful and conserve our resources, because a lot of them are finite, and even if they are renewable, it can take time to renew, so we must be careful not to use them up too quickly. But let's now move on to fact number 4. Speaking of resources, Romania is the wealthiest country in Europe in terms of gold. The most significant gold mining area in Romania and worldwide is Roșia Montană, can be found in the Apuseni Mountains. Excessive mining has been practiced here for over 2,000 years, since the time of the Dacians, who were known for their gold jewelry and vessels. Later, in 106 AD, when the territory was conquered, the Romans were the ones who extracted the gold from the area. At the same time, they set up a mining town so that today, at Roșia Montană Mining Museum, can be found some of the houses, tombs, mining galleries, or inscriptions in Latin dating from that period. The operations have continued both during the medieval period and under the control of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so that in 1912, 25% of the total world gold production was provided by the operations in the Apuseni Mountains. The place also has an interesting legend. It is said that the gold was first discovered by a woman named Cotruanța, who was grazing the goats. That way, she found a ball that shone in the sun and realized it was gold. Very interesting. Gold, of course, is very valuable, and seems like we have quite a bit of it here in Romania, but the article does say excessive, so I am a bit worried that one day we might run dry. After all, I'm pretty sure that gold mines are finite as well. But you have heard the word Dacian and Roman here. For those of you who don't know, Romanians are said to be a mix of the old Dacian tribes and the Roman conquerors. And in fact, the Romanian language is considered to be part of the Latin family of languages. Fact number 5. Baciu Forest near Cluj-Napoca is deemed to be one of the most paranormal areas on Earth. Oh, I was actually there. The story of the Baciu Forest near Cluj-Napoca begins with a legend that a shepherd entered with his 200 sheep in the woods and never left. As a result, unusual phenomena have never stopped since then, and the number of onlookers increased. The place is sometimes called the Bermuda Triangle of Romania, and those who have ventured here have reported various strange physical states and light beams that can't be explained. Some even have photographed UFOs, as it was the case in 1968 that attracted paranormal phenomena specialists from all over the world. Lately, the place has attracted the attention of international publications such as BBC, The Guardian, or The Independent. Recently, a documentary where former BBC news presenter Peter Baker is the narrator was released online. It delimits objectively what is real and what is only a myth about the Baciu Forest. I've, like I said, been there myself. I haven't really noticed anything paranormal, but I suppose a lot of the times it's the fact that people believe in something that makes it real, you know? Like, I believe in the supernatural, but I often prefer to find a logical explanation first before I start getting all scared and superstitious. But there are no judgments here. You believe what you want to believe. Fact number six, the Danube or Dunăre in Romanian Delta. The Danube Delta is the third largest region in the world in terms of biodiversity. The Danube Delta is also the wildest wetland on the European continent and the only delta in the world declared a biosphere reserve included in the UNESCO World Heritage. I was here as well during a school trip. The area is a mosaic of canals, lakes, reeds, dunes, vegetation, and forests, and extends approximately 40 square meters each year. Among the 5,500 species of flora and fauna that can be found here, the place is a real heaven for fishermen, having a variety of both freshwater and saltwater fish. Thus, a diverse human community has developed here, and over 25 ethnicities live here in harmony. Romanians, Ukrainians, Russians, Russian Lipovans, Tatars, and so on. Even the houses in the area have a unique charm, being in balance with the nature. Roofs made out of reed, whitewashed walls with blue doors and windows. It's pretty beautiful area. Again, I was fortunate enough to see it in my childhood. Haven't been back there since, but maybe I will visit it again someday. Fact number 7. Oh, speaking of it's something actually that I mentioned earlier. Romanian is the only Neo-Latin language spoken in Eastern Europe. At the first hearing, the foreigners would say that Romanian language resembles the Italian, but with Russian influences, which is true. Poate ați auzit și voi când am vorbit în limba română. Aceste influențe italiene și ruse. The explanation is that Romanian is a Romance language with strong Slavic influence. Romanization of the language occurs with the conquest of the ancient province of Dacia in 106 by the Romans. Thus, in the formation of the Romanian language, informal Latin, which was spoken in the conquered Dacia, contributed. Initially, elements of the Dacian language related to the natural environment and old occupations were also integrated in the language formation process. We can say that 3 elements completed the formation of the Romanian language: the Daco-Macian sublayer, the Latin layer with a share of over 70%, and the Slavic add layer from the medieval team. I guess this got a bit technical towards the end, but I guess what we need to remember is that all languages have been, or what I'm trying to say is that every language has an influence from another language or culture. Like even the English language has Nordic influence, French influence, Roman, Celtic. It's all part of the history of the people that lived there, the people that mixed together. And in the case of Romania, it's the Dacians and the Romans. Fact number 8. Territory was home to the Romanian territory was home to the oldest civilization in Europe. Oh, oldest civilization, I haven't heard this one yet. In the current territory of Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine, the unique culture of Cucuteni Tiphilia in Europe was developed for over 2 millennia. The first archaeological discoveries were made at the end of the 19th century. Populating the area between 5500 BC and 2750 BC, the Cucutenians preceded for several hundred years even the civilizations of Sumer and Egypt. Perhaps the first question that comes to our mind is, how did their daily life used to be? One interesting fact is that Kukultane was a matriarchal culture. The woman owned the household, worked in agriculture and pottery, while the man hunted and cared for the animals around the house. And since we're talking about ceramics, it is worth mentioning that Kukultane pottery is unique in Europe. Specific are the objects decorated in a spiral, having red, white, and black characteristic colors. These are similar only to the prehistoric Chinese culture, but this one appeared 1,000 years later. From the ceramic object, it also appeared that it was a pacifist culture. The statue representing slaves are missing. The disappearance of this civilization remains a mystery among specialists. Some theories say that they were conquered by an Eastern culture known as Kurgan. So after merging with them, they became the ancestors of the later Dacians. Other specialists claim that climate change would have caused disastrous drought, and this led to population decimation. Yeah, I guess the further back we go, the harder it is to find documented and accurate history, and people often say that history is written by the victors, so often the truth is relative, and there is no such thing as an exact truth, at least when it comes to history. Fact number 9, the Byzantine heritage of the UNESCO painted churches. The picturesque region of Bukovina, in the northeast of Romania, still preserved the Byzantine spirit of the past days. As real fortresses, 8 painted monasteries included in UNESCO's World Heritage have witnessed history: Arbore, Humor, Moldovița, Pătrăuț, Probota, Suceava, Voronet, and Sucevița. Most of them were built in the 15th and the 16th century to strengthen Christianity against the Ottoman threat. They impress by age, originality in architecture, the authenticity of exterior wall painting, and theological symbolism. The architecture is that of the Moldovan style. This style was developed in the time the Moldavian ruler Stephen the Great, Ștefan cel Mare, and combined Gothic and Byzantine elements. The paintings in fresco are also a masterpiece of this style. One of the most remarkable frescoes is located in the western facade of Voronet Monastery and represents the scene of the Last Judgment. It is often called the Sistine Chapel of East and is the Byzantine version of Michelangelo's famous religious paintings. What intrigues the specialists is that it has been preserved for almost 500 years. Included in the UNESCO Heritage in 1993, the monastery still enlivened the spirit of the region to preserve its old customs and local identity. I haven't been to these monasteries myself, but see some very interesting paintings here. Maybe I get to see them in the future. And last but not least, number 10, unique in the world, the tradition of dancing bears. Dancing bears is one of the enchanting traditions of Romania. Oh boy, I'm all too familiar with these, especially around Christmas time. Do not imagine real bears, but people dressed in bears that carry on this ancient custom. The unique archaic tradition in the world probably dates from the Middle Ages or has roots even from pre-Christian times. The nomadic gypsies roamed the villages with bears dancing on a certain rhythm. Nowadays, the bears are only people dressed like this, The custom is specific to villages and cities from the eastern region of Moldavia, and it takes place between Christmas and New Year's Eve. This is not 100% true. I live in the western part of Romania and we have the dancing bears during Christmas time and New Year's ourselves. So yeah, maybe it's more prolific, I guess is the word I'm trying to say, in the eastern part, but western Romania is... we have our dancing bears ourselves. Groups of dozens of people carol dressed in bears from door to door to wish a new year as wealthy as possible. Publications and Telegraph, Daily Mail, CNN, the New York Times, and Culture Trip had written about Romania's bear dancers, so it is quite famous worldwide right now. Just want to add to that, you know, as they go from house to house or shouting up to the tall apartment buildings, people usually give them a little something for their trouble, either candy or money. Alright, that's it for facts about Romania for now. As a local, I will be more than happy to share more facts about it from my own experience, but right now let's move on to Hungary, which is actually neighboring Romania in the west. 10 interesting things about Hungary. The first subway line of continental Europe was built in Budapest, or as we like to pronounce it in our native language, Budapest. The beautiful city of Budapest is made of up to two parts, Buda and Pest, which are separated by the Danube River. By the way, in Romanian, the Danube is called Dunăre, and in Hungarian, we call it simply the Duna. The Hungarian parliament is the third largest parliament building in the world, with 691 rooms and 20 kilometers of stairs. I can confirm I've seen it up close. I've even been inside, although of course it's kind of restricted for the general populace, but it's the place where they housed the old traditional Holy Crown, the crown that was used to, or was used by, should I say, the first Christian king of the Hungarians, Saint Stephen. Fact number 4, Hungary is one of the best birding areas in Europe. Almost 400 bird species breed here. Okay, interesting, that's a lot of birds. Wish this article would give me more details, like some examples of bird species, but it's alright. We are nearing 2 hours, so maybe I should get through these facts faster anyway. Amongst the many Hungaricoms, 5 are related to Hungarian gastronomy. Hungaricoms? What is that exactly? I need to search this up. Oh, so it's a general term about accommodation, sites, travels, and most of them are about gastronomy, so food. I can confirm Hungarian gastronomy is very good. Like the most famous dish is probably the goulash. I recommend it to everyone. Fact number 6. Covering almost 600 square kilometers, Lake Balaton, nicknamed the Hungarian Sea, is the largest lake in Central Europe. I would very much like to visit it someday. Like, Hungary is a landlocked country, so there's no sea or ocean near it, so no saltwater beaches, but plenty of people go to Balaton during the summer. Each day, 70 million liters of thermal water rise to the surface in Budapest. Yeah, Budapest is indeed very well known for its thermal springs and spas. Fact number 8. Hungary ranks 8th in the world for the medalists in the Summer Olympic Games. Alright, go sports teams. I myself don't watch a lot of Olympic sports, but it's very nice that out of the hundreds of countries in the world, Hungary is 8th among them. I feel like we don't get a lot of recognition a lot of the time. We are not, as they say, in the news or on the map too much, but it's nice to be in the spotlight during the Olympic Games. The oversized snail-shaped egg noodles, called csiga, that Hungarians use in many recipes, are thought to date back to the 9th century. Yeah, like the cocoa noodles, or am I thinking about other things? Oh yeah, no, I'm thinking about the pastry csiga, but we also have the noodles, which are used like in soups and stews. Yeah, but both are very good, and if they date back to the 9th century, which is about the time we Hungarians came to Europe, then yeah, it's indeed a very old and traditional food. Hungary has 10 national parks, 145 minor nature reserves, and 35 landscape protected areas. Indeed, Hungary, like if you travel to Hungary, you see a lot of nature. It might seem a bit boring because we don't have a lot of mountains, like most of it is flatlands, but those of you who appreciate reserves, parks, and protected areas, it's a good place to visit. And now we shall move on to Germany. Of course, Germany is not the only German-speaking country in the world, but for my German-speaking viewers, I picked this particular one. Maybe one day I will also make some fun facts about Austria. Lasst uns beginnen. Also, was haben wir hier? 1, 2, 3, 4 bis zum 16. Ich denke, ich werde nur 10. Yeah, let's go with 10 fun facts about Germany for now, to keep it balanced. Okay, fact number 1. Germany has 1,000 variety of sausages. There are over 1,000 varieties of sausages in Germany. It's safe to say that Germans love their sausage. Know what you're thinking right now, chat? Get your mind after the gutter. Some kinds of sausage you'll find in Germany are the Bratwurst, Blutwurst, Weisswurst, Knackwurst, and Currywurst. These sausage types are all flavored with different spices, and they all pack a delicious punch. I had some Weisswurst myself while I was in Germany. It's pretty good. The most popular German surname is Müller. Müller is the most popular surname in Germany. It's like the German equivalent of Miller. There are over 900,000 people in Germany who share this last name. A few other popular last names in Germany are Schmidt, Schneider, Fischer, Weber, Mayer, Wagner, Becker. And all of these are basically names of professions, so some professions being as old as time, so I think it's surprise to no one that these surnames, family names, are very widespread. Fact number 3. Beer is a food in Bavaria. In most parts of Germany, beer is simply a drink to be enjoyed, but in Bavaria, it's a way of life. In Bavaria, the average person drinks around 150 liters of beer per year. They consume more beer than any other state in Germany. In fact, almost half of the breweries in Germany are in Bavaria. I didn't know that, but as I was in Bavaria and Munich a couple of years ago, well, quite a few years ago actually, by now, boomer. They can confirm they do like their beer. Number 4. Germany loves bread. And a fun fact that it has over 300 kinds of bread. Just to name a few, they have Brötchen, Pretzel, Vollkornbrot, and Milchbrötchen. Germany really is a carb lover's paradise, isn't it? Number 5. Gummy bears are a German invention. Hans Riegel of Bonn, Germany, created his own sweets company in 1920. He was fed up with his unrewarding career as a confectionery worker. He started off making candies that were hard and colorless, and his wife was his delivery person. He came up with the idea to create gelatin-based fruit snacks when his hard candy stopped selling at street fairs. He didn't completely invent the recipe himself, but he did perfect it. They take inspiration from Turkish delight and Japanese rice candy, or mochi, as some of you may know. And I guess the most popular gummy bears out there are Haribo. Big fan of that myself, although I need to watch my weight, so I don't eat it too much these days. In fact, I can't even remember the last time I had gummy bears, but still a fan. Number 6. The first Oktoberfest was a wedding. The first Oktoberfest took place in October 12, 1810. It lasted for 5 days and was meant to celebrate the marriage between the Crown Prince of Bavaria, who later became King Ludwig I, to Princess Therese von Sachsen-Hildburghausen. It eventually grew into a yearly anniversary that included an annual agricultural fair, music, and food vendors. As time passed, booths became beer halls, and brewers now build temporary structures that hold upwards of 6,000 people. Each year, about 2 million gallons of beer are consumed during Oktoberfest. It's a festival that includes parades, amusement rides, games, and dancing. More than 6 million people come to celebrate Oktoberfest each year. Sounds like a fun time. One of my travel plans for the future is indeed to participate in one of these Oktoberfests, but the timing can be tricky because, it's only in October, and yeah, need to make sure I have vacation during that time. Number 7. JFK was not a jelly donut. There's a popular myth that American President John F. Kennedy stood in front of the Berlin Wall in 1963 and proclaimed to listeners, "Ich bin ein Berliner." Newsrooms across the world told the tale of how the American president proudly proclaimed that he was a jelly donut. Oh, because Berliner is the name of a jelly donut. Oh, right. Right. Yeah, I think I heard about it, that Berliner is like a jelly donut, but it's not named like that in Berlin. In Berlin, people call it Pfannkuchen. He indeed delivered a speech that day, and Kennedy was known for having a hard time with foreign languages, but he knew what he was saying during that speech. Kennedy was correct in what he said. In fact, he went off script and delivered a memorable speech to tens Berliners. So yeah, it's kind of like a word pun. Like if you say "Ich bin ein Berliner," you probably mean that you are from Berlin, a native to the city of Berlin. But to those who know about the jelly donuts, they they know that they may be laughing that you are calling yourself a dessert. By the way, Pfannkuchen seems to be the word for a jelly donut in Berlin, but outside of Berlin, I'm pretty sure it means simply pancake, because that's the translation I know for Pfannkuchen myself. And it's not like the thick pancake, it's more like the crepe. So yeah, that's just a bonus fun fact for that. Number 8, Germany has the world's largest cathedral. Oh, nice. So we here in Romania have the largest or tallest wooden church, but Germany has the world's largest cathedral, and it's in Cologne or Köln, North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. It is the largest Gothic church in Northern Europe. It is the home to the second tallest spires. These huge spires make for the largest church in the entire world. When the architects started to build the Cologne Cathedral, it was all the way back in 1248. The construction of the cathedral didn't finish until 1880. So they constructed it for over 600 years. Jeez, didn't know that. I actually visited Köln myself and saw this cathedral, but whoa, no wonder it's the largest in the world. Number 9. Attempting to escape jail is legal in Germany. In Germany, it is considered a basic human instinct to do whatever you can to be free. So if a prisoner attempts to escape from a prison, they will not receive additional punishment for the act itself. However, if the prisoner damages any property, hurts anyone, murders anyone, or commits any other crimes while they are attempting to escape, they will be charged for those crimes. So basically what I'm hearing is that if you are stealthy enough and manage to escape from prison, you don't get caught and you don't cause any damage or harm any other person, you're free to go. But I suppose with today's surveillance and modern technology, it's pretty hard to remain hidden. Pretty sure even if you do escape, they will catch you and put you back into prison. Until you serve your sentence at least. Last but not least, number 10, Germany loves castles. Germany is home to the most gorgeous castles in the world. There are over 20,000 castles located in Germany, so you have plenty to choose from when you visit. I managed to visit one myself back when I was there, and it's actually number 1 in the list of examples. Neuschwanstein Castle, Hohenzollern Castle, Schwerin Castle, Heidelberg Castle, Wartburg Castle, Marburg Castle, and many others. 20,000, that's a lot. Can spend hours and still not explore all of them. Alright, bit of a hydration break before we move on to the last segment, which is 10 fun facts about England. English is, of course, the big international language that all of the world speaks, but so I could have chosen almost any country to represent it, but let's go with the motherland, from where people started colonizing and spreading their knowledge and language. Fact number 1. England is a country in the UK, or United Kingdom. Probably you know this fact already, but I have noticed that many people in other countries often refer to England when they talk about the United Kingdom, but England is only one of the 4 nations in the United Kingdom, the other 3 being Wales, Northern Ireland, and holy shit, I actually forgot. I'm just another typical foreigner who doesn't know the UK. Okay, it will come to me in a moment. Wales. Okay, I don't want to Google it. I know I can name them if I just concentrate hard enough. We have the Welsh, the Irish. No, I know Scotland is not part of... Is Scotland part of the UK? I don't think so. Or is it? I think they were vying for independence. It is actually part, okay. Yeah, United Kingdom does include Scotland as well. I googled it in the end. So yeah. United Kingdom means England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And most people, when they want to talk about United Kingdom, they just say England. But, well, to be fair, the other countries aren't as well known as the rest. But it is important to get our facts straight. There's also like British Isles and Great Britain, which includes United Kingdom and Ireland. Fact number 2 about England. Jumping a queue can be illegal. Queuing is very important in British culture and it's rare to see someone jumping a queue. We all know queue jumping is rude, but it is actually illegal in one place in England. London's transport ticket machines. If you jump the queue to buy your ticket, you can be fined up to £1,000. Whoa, they sure take those tickets seriously. Number 3. England fought the world's shortest war. The Anglo-Zanzibar War is the shortest war in history. It began at 9 a.m. on the 27th of August 1896 when 5 ships of the Royal Navy attacked Zanzibar's royal palace. The conflict lasted only between 38 and 45 minutes until the white flag of surrender was raised. It was a short war that cost the lives of 500 people in Zanzibar, but only 1 British Marine was injured. Jeez, that really was a one-sided battle, and it really says a lot about the atrocities of war when 500 people died in less than an hour. Kind of sad. Fact number 4. England is home to one of the weirdest sports, called cheese rolling. Cheese rolling is one of the strangest sports taking place every year in Gloucestershire in the west of England during the spring. In this competition, an 8-pound round of double Gloucester cheese, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it by the way, British people, is rolled from the top of Cooper Hill and participants chase after it down to the bottom. They are supposed to catch the cheese, but it is kind of impossible. So who crosses the finish line first wins the cheese. Number 5. England is mostly flat. Most of the land of England is flat, especially in the southern area. There are mountains in the north, but all mountains rise under 1,000 meters in elevation. Sounds kind of like Hungary. The highest point in England is Scafell Pike in Lake District National Park at an altitude of 9,078 meters above sea level. Fact number 6. England is the birthplace of many famous scientists. Of course, we all know about the universities of Oxford and Cambridge, but what we may not know is that many famous politicians, scientists, and novelists in the world have graduated from universities in this country. Just to name a few: Isaac Newton, who discovered the law of gravitation and invented calculus; Charles Darwin, the geologist and biologist known for his contribution to the science of evolution; and last but not least, Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest scientists in the 20th century. Fact number 7. The national dish is an Indian food. Even though there are 4 different traditional dishes in England, such as Yorkshire pudding, fish and chips, and shepherd's pie, chicken tikka masala is widely considered the country's national dish, even though the origin of the dish is in India. But I can imagine why that is, because India was a British colony for a long time. So it was probably imported from there. Number 8. No plug sockets in the bathrooms. You cannot find any bathrooms in England. By the way, I'm not sure if you notice I pronounce bathroom instead of bathroom. I think that's the British pronunciation. So you can't find bathrooms with plug sockets because they are considered health and safety rules. They are not allowed in bathrooms or shower rooms unless they can be fitted at least 3 meters away from the sink, bath, or shower. So I guess there are exceptions, but they need to be in some very specific spots. Okay, fair enough. Fact number 9. The Queen is not allowed in the House of Commons. No British monarch is allowed to set foot in the House of Commons, which is the UK Parliament. This rule dates back to 1642, when King Charles I stormed into the House of Commons to arrest 5 members. The attempt was unsuccessful, and since then the monarch was banned from entering the Parliament. Interesting little bit of history. I know that England, or more specifically the United Kingdom, is like a constitutional monarchy, so the king or queen has symbolic power, but they place a lot of importance into the House of Commons, the people of the Parliament, and I guess because there was a monarch who tried to abuse his power and arrest people there, they banned them from the Parliament. Last but not least, number 10, you can't get drunk in English pubs. British are famous for their pub culture. Pubs are the main hubs of various local communities, and they are a place to socialize and have a drink. But you are not allowed to get drunk there. It is illegal. Whoa. Didn't expect this fact at all. I guess it's mostly the Irish and Scottish who are famous for being drunkards, but wonder how they really enforce this law. I guess the bartenders simply refuse to serve more drinks once they notice that you get all tipsy, and this can be pretty tricky to track and enforce because we all have different levels of alcohol tolerance, and it's like based on a number of facts like body weight, genetics, and just I guess how used you are to having alcohol in your system. All right, that about wraps up this stream. I hope those of you who are listening to the recording, I apologize for all the scuff and any of the times that I'm too loud, but hopefully you learned a few things today and managed to relax at the same time. As it is tradition for many streamers, especially new streamers like myself, we're gonna raid a channel now. Even though there's not that many of us, sure they will appreciate the gesture. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Snow Hunter is online. They are 3D artists. They stream mostly during the day. I've seen that they do some gaming streams as well. They're very friendly and kind person who often come to my stream. Well, I guess saying often right now is a moot point because I only streamed once, but basically we like to visit each other and yeah, let's all go there, shall we? I hope you enjoyed it, and let's test out actually the ending screen because I haven't used it during my debut, and then we can go back there.